Okay, then.
All righty.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I am good. It's been a day.
Today, it's been 2 years.
It has been 2 years, actually.
It's been 2 years. All right. It
It's
has been
been
2 years.
2 years. It's been 2 years.
Right.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Okay, I think because people like to start on time and come on time, so let's just start.
Let's go for it.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Nirit Hoffman. I am a lawyer. I deal with estate planning and elder law. And with my exposure with a lot of people who are elderly, I've noticed that there are a lot of other topics that concern them that really should be discussed. And so I decided to host, I think it's coming up to 2 years now, talk sessions with various professionals that also deal with people issues to do with elders. And today we're going to be speaking to Rachel Weinstein, my favorite clinical social worker, who we're going to talk about the challenges of Corona. So Rachel, go ahead, introduce yourself.
So, hi, my name is Rachel Weinstein, and I'm a clinical social worker with a private practice in Beit Shemesh. And I see clients in person, according to Ministry of Health guidelines. And I also see people on Zoom. And I work with people with all sorts of adjustments, depression, anxiety, transitions, making aliyah, death, bereavement, lots of topics that fall under transitions. And I also work with the LGBTQ community, particularly the Orthodox LGBTQ community, because there are a lot of people living with, struggling with these issues. And transition and grief definitely are part of that as well. So,
okay. So I want to talk about the challenges of Corona tonight. The pandemic, which we thought was going to be, short term, is still with us and honestly wearing people down. And I've heard more than one person saying, you know what, I'm just so fed up with this already. And they're fed up with wearing masks, and they're fed up with being isolated from their family, and they're fed up not having to go to America or to go abroad in general. And they're fed up with not having, a social event the way they wanted to, or social events plural. So I was wondering, how do you feel about this whole thing and how it's affecting your clients?
Remember when Corona was going to be just 2 weeks and we were all going to just, be together again. There isn't a single human being on the planet at this stage that hasn't been affected. Some of my clients, sometimes I don't really necessarily feel it, because the beauty of Zoom is that, I don't want anyone to be sick, but you can certainly be sick and no one will know. But I've had people who've had to cancel. I've had people who don't know when they can come back for a session because they don't want to do Zoom. And it's affected everything. And one of the things, sorry, I'm just getting my thoughts together here. It's affected not only health, but the way we perceive the world, the way we understand the world. We've all been living under this black cloud, this specter of illness and, God forbid, and death and sickness, because everything we do that involves COVID is included under this kind of black cloud, whether you wear a mask or not, whether you vaccinate or not, whether you social distance, whether you even believe it's real or not. I certainly believe it's very real. Everything we're doing has something to do with illness. We don't just go shopping anymore and just, I wonder if the cucumbers are on sale. We wonder, is that one masked? Should I be masked? Are they too close? Are they too far? Everything, just, from the mundane to the much more sophisticated, is completely changed by this pandemic. And it is definitely caused a lot of us, I'd say most of us, to grieve. I remember back in 2020, which really isn't that long ago, that there was a point where I was saying, I just want my life back. I just want my life back. And the truth is, I don't really know what that means anymore, because now when I go outside without a mask, it feels weird. But because it's just so part of our thinking and how we behave. I know I had been speaking with a client on Zoom and I coughed because something got stuck in my throat. And without really grasping the context, I said, don't worry, it's not corona. And she looked at me and I looked at her and we laughed, because we were on Zoom. Even if it was, God forbid, corona, it wouldn't have mattered. So we're all kind of programmed. So this pandemic has required us to bend and shape shift and make opportunities, and also really, really grieve. People are isolated. People are trying to find themselves. People just want to like go to work, go to school, do their thing, and just live and enjoy themselves. We can't plan for anything without wondering, well, will I be able to have the event that I really, the way I wanted it? Am I going to have 3 people at my wedding? Am I going to get married in a backyard? Will I have lots of people? Everything, everything is affected. And it affects our ability to appreciate each other and to enjoy each other, not only in person, but we're all kind of, maybe not every single person, but there's a heaviness. There's a real heaviness to all of this.
I totally agree. I was just thinking 2 things. I was thinking, it's fun, like at the beginning when we were wearing masks, people were finding it difficult to recognize each other because they were wearing a mask and they're not. And now it's as if, oh, I know you. Yeah, you're wearing a mask, but people have already been sort of managed to figure it out, because 2 years wearing a mask, suddenly they can recognize people even with the mask, which is sort of funny and sad at the same time.
Right.
I was thinking like babies who were born into this world are like, that's like a norm for them to see people with masks walking around, which is also sort of sad.
Right.
And I don't know about the lipstick industry here, just to lighten up here the situation a little bit.
True.
They've probably crashed because who needs it at this point?
Right. I forgot. I put lipstick on the other day, and I rarely put on lipstick. And then when I took my mask off, I thought, that's why I don't put lipstick on anymore, because, well, I needed to use another mask.
Right. No, exactly, and nobody can enjoy it. Like nobody can see it.
Right. And I was going to say something and it went completely out of my head.
But seriously now, like for at least I know for my clients, for my elder clients, there's 2 ways of going. One, there's one group that are totally petrified and they really don't go anywhere. They really, really don't go anywhere. And if they do, they wear double masks, not even just one mask, and they stay way far away. And I've had people calling me and saying, I was on the other side of the road, but then he coughed, and like, don't go there. Like, you're going to drive yourself insane.
Right.
And there's the other group that says, you know what, I'm just fed up. I want to live however many years I have. I just want to live. I want to see my grandchildren. I want to see my children. I want to go to smachot. I want to do things. I just want to live it. I've had enough.
Right. The truth is, and I'm certainly not going to get into politics, because Lord knows that's not what this conversation is about. However, people in all countries are upset at their governments, at the medical institutions, at researchers, at, people in Israel are angry at people in America and vice versa. And how come New Zealand has these rates and we don't have these rates, and they're not wearing masks, and why can't we? It's very much, like when little children, if you have 2 kids, how come you gave her the bigger cookie? That's kind of what it feels like. And it's, well, because we're all different and our countries are different. But excuse me for one second. What I think that all of us, whether we're angry at people and policies, justly or unjustly, I'm not, gonna go further than that. I think that what we're really upset with is this amorphous virus. This virus, frankly, is doing what viruses are supposed to do. The job of a virus is to keep surviving until it just can't. And I'm sure that if there's an epidemiologist or virologist or other doctor listening, may be going, that's not quite true. And maybe it's not, because I don't profess to know everything or even half.
It sounds good though. We'll just
sounds good, right?
Yeah.
The virus, it keeps mutating. That is just what it does. And I think that as far as a virus goes, Corona, I'm very aware that people have died and people have been terribly sick. But as far as viruses go, Corona gets an A+, because every time we think we got this, we were vaccinated, we masked, we followed all the rules, right? We got this. And then we got lulled into real life again. We could go outside. We didn't have to measure 6 feet or 2 meters or anything. Then a new variant shows up. That's what viruses do. It is as if it is saying, oh, you have a vaccine, that's cute. I'm going to come back, you'll see. And then we get lulled in sort of this normal and like, oh, we can go to movies, we can eat in restaurants. And it's as if the virus says, that's funny, I'm coming back as Omicron. What are you doing? Hopefully we won't have too many more variants and it will just go away. I don't know how scientifically true that is. I'm saying that is my hope. I do think that Corona is very, dare I say, a little bit Israeli. It won't take no for an answer. You know, when we made Aliyah, we were told no doesn't necessarily mean no. You keep asking this way and asking that way. That's what Corona is doing. Oh, again, vaccine, that's cute. Masks, that's cute. I like that. No, we're going to keep going in. So it is required overall for us to think of everything we do differently. And again, I know that there's another piece, not but another piece, but and another piece, that there are people who are so isolated and so depressed because they cannot do the things that they enjoy, that they love to do. There are people who are sick. There are people, a very close friend of ours almost died from Corona. Not a 900-year-old man, you know, he didn't feel well. He was like, you know, this close to being on a vent. It was frightening. It was frightening to watch, and we could do nothing. I know that people have been very sick. I know that people have clearly died. The numbers are beyond comprehension, I think, in some ways. Right. It is very real. And I know that with the physical, there's also, again, the emotional piece, sort of the emotional problems, my best way of describing it, but there are increased rates of domestic violence. There are increased rates of child abuse because the people that needed to get out can't get out because this virus keeps locking us down. Now, right. Granted, we haven't, thank God, had a lockdown in a long time, but we're still in some ways restricted in some ways. And
some people more than others, and some people more than others.
Right. And I think I'm not here to say, so with all of this sad stuff, here's what you should do. There's no good answer. We're all struggling. We're all dealing with it. The last 2 years, we have all been in some form of survival mode. In March 2020, the month I like to call, the year the world shut down. I'm aware I said March, but the year the world shut down, we were quite literally deathly afraid. We didn't know anything, right? We knew nothing, just that apparently there was a virus over there, and then it was here. Now what do we do? It's very difficult to live with this kind of stress all the time. Work schedules have been affected. How many parents, I do not have school-age children, but my hats, my mitpachat off to every single parent who has Absolutely. Dealt with antigen tests. Everyone's taking pictures of those PCR tests. It looks like everyone is pregnant. It's just mind-blowing. Everyone who says this kid can go to school, but that kid can't go to school, and now we're in bidud again. Everyone's in bidud. I don't know how everyone is managing it, and I don't say that to be patronizing. I mean that.
No, I agree with you. I'm so glad I don't deal with that either, right? Because it's very, very
right. It's
overwhelming.
It's beyond. It is. We are not meant as human beings in any country to live under this level of stress all the time, and yet here we are. The last pandemic was 1908. I know my year is a little off there. It was a very long time ago. We don't have anyone to go back to say, how was it for you? How did you deal with it when the pandemic happened? First of all, technology and science are light years ahead.
Right.
And second of all, there's nobody around really who can say, oh, when we had the pandemic, this is how we dealt with it. We are all flying by the seat of our pants. All of us. All of us.
Yeah.
There is absolutely a time and space to be miserable and to be upset. And I think we've all sort of earned that right to be upset. I'm not going to say, look on the bright side. If you want to, that's great. For me personally, there have been bright sides. I think a lot of different people have discovered new hobbies, new opportunities, new creative ways of being through the pandemic.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We want to, let's, you know what, let's actually shift from it's basa, as they say in Hebrew,
right,
to, okay, so I agree, it sucks. Okay, there really isn't another way of saying it in a nicer way.
Right.
How, so give us ideas. How should we be handling this? What, not should is not the right word, mate. What are the ideas that may help us handle this?
I think accepting, I mean, this again may sound very glib, and I certainly don't mean it that way, but accepting our humanity, our fallibility, our ability to sometimes be flexible and sometimes not be so flexible, because Corona has demanded a level of flexibility. We've kind of all become sort of plastic-man. We've had to bend and twist and turn, in ways that were, it's not even that we couldn't think of. We never would have thought about it. We never, speed shopping. So to make sure that nobody, that you're not near too many people, going shopping at crazy hours so that, you're not around too many germs. I mean, just sort of crazy things. I think in terms of, how do you cope? I think part of it is accepting that this is not normal. I know normal is subjective. I had a friend who used to say the only time you'll see the word normal is on a washing machine. It's just not normal. Pandemics are not normal, except if you can accept that. And like I was saying before, I think that there is a time and place to just say, this sucks. But you also have a choice. We all have a choice, right? How much do we want to live in that it sucks? Sure, it's appropriate for a time. We've all earned our rights to be miserable. But what happens when you're miserable is, how long do you want to feel that? Because I may not be able to spend a whole lot of time with my family or my friends, but they're not going to want to spend a lot of time with me if all I am is miserable. The friend who never, Debbie Downer, nobody wants to be around Debbie Downer, pandemic or not. So it's not about putting on a bright, shiny face and lying, but okay, it sucks. Now what? Now what? What can I do? Can I work? Do I, for me, it was, do I still want to be doing the things that I had been doing? Corona was a very, very unusual gift in some ways for me. I can't do certain things. I can't go to the movies. I can't eat at a restaurant. Obviously, this is earlier on. What can I do? How can I create that kind of experience in my home? I'm not saying, make your spouse a waiter and make your kids the cleanup crew, unless that's what you want to do. But how can I make this an enjoyable dining experience to the best of my ability? Sometimes, again, it's okay to say I can't get what I want. And sometimes it's not okay to live in that place. But what can I do?
Sorry, I'm thinking like creativity, let's say. So, okay, so we can't go, people don't want to go to the mall or people don't want to go to restaurants, but maybe we can do a picnic outside when it's getting nicer and soon it's going to get nicer, and that would be an option. Or I really don't want to cook today. I'm really fed up, but I don't want to go to the restaurant because I'm a little bit worried. But hey, maybe we could do takeaway and it can come to us. That sort of thing. I mean, and regarding work, it's funny. Well, not funny. It's interesting because I had a lot of people reinvent themselves, so to speak, and use their hobbies as a way to make money. Suddenly, because they were at home and because they couldn't do stuff outside of their home, or they were worried to do stuff outside of their home and they were stuck at home, they figured out a way how to take their hobby another step further and make it another extra income for them, which, like, some people are saying like, wow, this is amazing. or Zoom. Who knew about Zoom 2 years ago? Who knew about Zoom two
Right.
years ago? Here we
Right.
are using Zoom. And I'm
Right.
talking about my elder clients who are suddenly at the beginning, two
Tech
years ago,
savvy.
were like, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that and I can't do this. Technology and me is like two different things. And now suddenly they've stepped
Right.
up to the plate with an amazing, I think it's an amazing, they can do WhatsApp and Zoom and Facebook, and they figured out a way because they figured out that it's either sinking or floating. So they'd rather float or swim, sink or swim. Um, and they're amazing, and it's an amazing thing. So yes, it was it's not the great opportunity to do it, but they stepped up and now they can do a lot of things that had they been told 2 years ago, they would say, nah, no way, I don't know how to do these
Right.
things.
Things have, there's a couple of things, not just hobbies. I do want to say though, that a lot of people for many years in many industries have said the job that I have, I understand there are certain jobs that you can't do on the computer, and
Right.
you cannot do brain surgery through Zoom. Please don't do brain surgery through Zoom. But a lot of people in a lot of different industries have been screaming, especially people with disabilities, people who are, who don't have the funds or the means to get to a certain office, whatever it is. People have been
Right.
saying we can do our jobs from home. And for many years, it's been, no, everyone's got to come in. End of discussion. Everyone's got to come in. That's it.
Absolutely.
Suddenly, all of a sudden, everything is, or many things are much more accessible, and everybody's working from home. And all of a sudden, businesses realized they were spending less money on rent or on electricity or on water or heat in their buildings because everybody was working from home. And a lot of people were doing a really good job. Now I'm hearing about more jobs where part of the deal is you can work from home and a few days a week you work in the office. All of a sudden, we're finding a flexibility that was really there, but it took a pandemic for us to go, oh, we could try that. That's not a bad idea.
I know, you're so right. I was thinking about those moms, those single parents who this is a lifesaver for them because they couldn't manage to get home on time because the traffic is crazy. So they couldn't take all these
Right.
opportunities for them that may have helped them, financially, because
Right.
they weren't allowed to work from home. And here they are working from home, doing a great job.
Right. And you know what? Sometimes people do a really good job in their pajamas. I mean, let's just say it. You're comfortable, you're home, the coffee is flowing. If you know me, you know I love my coffee. The coffee's always there. You can warm up your own lunch. You don't have to order in. You feel productive. You can do your work on your own time so long as you get it in. And suddenly people are just as productive, if not more, because their job fits into their life. It's not that their life has to bend and break around their job. Other things, though, in terms of, hobbies, I perform with a theater group, but clearly that hasn't happened in the last 2 years because one of the big no-nos when it came to Corona is the bigger your voice when you sing, when you act, you're projecting, not to get too gross, but you're projecting. That became a real issue, science said. So what do all the performers do when they can't go and perform? And so the women that I perform with, we created, I should say our leader, created a platform where we would all sing. We did this for almost a year. We would meet once a week or once every other week. We would each pick a song. She'd give us a project. We're going to sing Disney songs. We're going to sing, songs from Fiddler on the Roof, whatever it was. And we'd come together. We'd each pick a different song and we'd put on a concert for ourselves. And everyone would sing and everyone would clap and everyone felt good and we felt united and we were communicating. Sometimes we would bemoan, wow, this is a crazy kind of, like, oh my God, pandemic. And then other times we would say, this is so cool. We can harmonize with each other. We made it work. We did what we could with what we had. It was so much fun that we're doing it again next week. We're a lot more, a lot freer outside of our homes now. But it was fun, and we built our friendships became stronger. We became, friendships developed. It's neat and it's cool. And I don't think that we would have had that opportunity had it not been for Corona. Does that mean that I'm saying, wow, Corona is great and the best thing? No, I'm not saying that. But it is really about you know, you can suck on the lemon, or you can make some lemonade. And we all have a choice. All of us have a choice to do that. If people who, if people who are listening are saying it's all bad, it's all terrible, it all stinks, you are free to believe that and feel that. I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to disrespect it. If you're in a bad mood, you're allowed to be in a bad mood. If you think an entire period of time is rotten, that's fine. You're allowed to. I don't have to agree. I don't have to like it. You're allowed to. My challenge to that person, though, is how long do you want to stay there? Because being miserable in a pandemic does not make the pandemic go away. If it did, it would have been out of here a long time ago. So what are you going to do about it? Right. And I think that, the questions that some of the, some people have asked, I'm sorry, I got a little tongue tied there, are, okay, it's great. So we're protecting our physical health, and this sucks. We're protecting our physical health. But what about, like I said before, the kids who are being beaten because they can't get out to go to school? And what about the wives or husbands who are being, hurt because they can't escape, from their spouses? What about that, Rachel? What about, tell me more about lockdowns and pandemics and and germs. They're right. There isn't, I'm not going to yes, but they're right. It isn't fair. Because if we say, okay, we don't need to take precautions, to protect our physical health, then great. So then even more people get sick, and even more people are in hospitals, and even more people die. Enough people have died. If we only say, well, you know what, we have to be completely and totally in lockdown, and that's it. Nobody can leave their house. End of discussion. Then everything collapses. Homes, families, lives, people, finances. There's no good compromise here. And I'm not saying, well, I guess, someone's going to have to suffer. I don't want anybody to suffer. It's not yes, but it's yes. And yes, if we take care of our physical health, there are going to be some really negative, horrible consequences for people who can't leave their homes, the elderly, the people who really need social contact, and we all need social contact. It's not just elderly people or sick people. But if we don't take care of our physical health, then we have to do both. And we have to do both the best we can. It's not yes, but it's yes, and. And it's just, I don't envy any policymaker, because no matter what they do, they're going to be in trouble. And I'm not pushing for parties, and I'm not, electioneering or anything. It's just, there's no really great compromise. It's you do the best you can with what you've got, and unfortunately we don't have a lot when it comes to this. I will say also, if I can just add one more thing. This pandemic has I think brought out some of the best of us and some of the worst of us. When I say, I don't mean us and us, I mean all of us. The people who wear masks are frustrated with the people who don't wear masks. And the people who don't wear masks may sometimes think the people who do wear masks are, I've heard, sheep. Never been called a sheep before, but okay. Apparently I became a sheep this year and last year. Fine, that's fine. People get angry. You're vaxxed. Oh, vaccines are, they didn't do enough research, right? We can all yell at each other from now until forever, from now until eternity. Again, I think, yes, you may find that there is merit in screaming at the person who doesn't wear a mask, and the non-masked person may think it's just a hoot to watch the masked people kind of dance in anger, right? We can all play these games, and yes. we have, but once again, what do you get out of that? I've, for the most part, yet to see someone who says vaccines are stupid, hear an argument that someone made in fury and anger, go, you're right, I'm going to go get vaccinated. And I've yet to hear someone who really, really believes that vaccines are good to go hear an argument and go back to their doctor and say, this was terrible, we shouldn't do that. It's a matter of, and I know it's not just respecting other people's opinions, because there is science behind this, but we get to choose how we react to people. If you find that being in a in an environment where lots and lots of people tend to be, and you're really concerned, and there's not a lot of masked people or everyone is standing on top of each other, don't go there. Is it fair? Maybe not, but your sanity is also worth its weight in platinum, not gold, in platinum. It would be wonderful if we could all be a little bit nicer to each other. I'm not going to start singing Kumbaya, but yelling at each other, you're not masked. Well, you're stupid for being masked. It does nothing. It just makes us more miserable. And once again, misery does not push a pandemic out, because if it had happened, if that was the case, we would be done with this pandemic. We would be. I think just, to sort of wrap up, yes, there are new opportunities. Yes, there are new things to grieve. Who knew there was no such thing as long COVID? What's long? Now there's a condition, long COVID and brain fog. These are not terms that we used to use. There was a time where Corona was just a beer, right? It was just a beer. And now everyone, oh yeah, coronavirus, COVID. I think we've all in some way, gotten, our MD, I'm putting it in quotes very intentionally. We've had to adapt to a new normal. And, back in whatever era March 2020 was, I wanted to go back to normal. I don't know that normal, at least that normal, exists anymore. I think it's about now we have to find, nobody has to, you can still scream, that's okay. But it is, I think, highly encouraged to find a new normal and to continue to be flexible, because if we're not flexible, we will break. I remember my mom, let her rest, always saying, that you can have the oak tree that's really, really strong and impressive and powerful. And then you can have the willow tree that just kind of does this in the wind. But if you get a really strong wind, the oak tree will just crack. The willow tree will move. Maybe it'll lose some leaves, but it'll still be standing after the storm. So I used to think that was silly until I actually saw a willow tree after a storm. And I was like, oh, wow, it's still really there. That's pretty cool. So we can be the willow, we can be the oak, but we have to, for our own sanity, for our own well-being, for the mental health of the people we share our lives with, be open to being flexible when it's possible, giving ourselves permission to be grumpy and to be miserable and to be angry, because it's not fair. It's not fair to live through a pandemic. It's not fair for the parents who are going, great, I have more kids than Dude. Yay. It's not fair to have to call your boss for the 18th time to say, I have to work from home again, even though I was supposed to be in the office today. It's not fair. But we need to create a new normal. And also, let's be realistic. This pandemic isn't going anywhere so fast. It keeps mutating. Be as realistic as is possible. Be hopeful, but be realistic that this is going to be a long ride. How long? I have no idea. But we never thought in March of 2020 that in February of 2022, we would still be talking about this. We'd still be living with it. We'd still be afraid of it. We'd still be mocking it. We never, ever thought we'd still be here. And we are. So what are we going to do? This is the new normal. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about all the comedians, how many dark jokes they had for this. They probably made a lot. But seriously, I think to wrap it up, you're right. The new normal basically is something that we need to adapt to. Right. Maybe build some sort of hammock between the oak and the willow.
And the willow, right.
And learn somehow, and everybody will do it the way they feel is right for them and how they're comfortable, to sort of live in this storm, dance between the raindrops, and keep sane. And everybody's has their different ways of coping.
Right.
But I think coping is a better way to deal with this challenge than than just being upset all the time, because that's really not going to get us anywhere. We're just going to
Right.
we have to learn to live within a normal. Basically, I think you're 100% right.
Right. I just want to add two more very quick things. One is humor. It's a fantastic coping mechanism. Not a lot about COVID is funny. Certainly people dying, not particularly funny.
No, not
But
funny.
but wherever you can find humor, wherever you can, I'm not saying make a joke at the expense of other people. I strongly discourage anyone from doing that. But where you can find the funny, find the funny. Life is significantly better lived when you can laugh. There's plenty that we can cry about even without the pandemic. Plenty, plenty. And we could all play who has worse trauma, right? We could all play that game.
Yeah.
But funny is definitely, in addition to, all the good endorphins that laughing will, help flow into your brain. It just makes life a lot more enjoyable. And lastly, as much as we're getting back to normal, whatever in the world that means, and I don't say this to be trite, but different people are at different levels of exhaustion. It's not just tired, it's exhaustion. We are constantly focused on illness and on health. Every time you go to the store, when you see masks on sale, why are they on sale? Because Corona. If you see hand sanitizer, maybe not as much as we used to. Why does it come in all these cool bottles? And why do they have it for kids? And why are they promoting it so much? Because of Corona. Why are there signs in the pharmacies and the grocery stores and clothing stores, with, please stand here, monitor your distance? Because of Corona. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. So everyone's tired, and some people are more tired than others, exhausted, tired. Some people can get up and go to work, whether it's in their pajamas or in the office, and be functional and on, and that's great. Other people are kind of like walking through water, they're schlepping. It's hard. I'm not saying sit back and make excuses, but I'm saying that we need to be a little kinder to each other. Some of us are like revving to go. Some of us are like, there isn't enough coffee on the planet. And we're all going through that at different points. We're not meant to be under this level of stress, certainly for this long. And here we are. We're all handling it differently. And it would be wise for all of us to be as okay with each other and how we're coping as possible.
100%. 100%. I'd like to, you know what, that's a nice note to end it with, just to be kinder, to understand that people are going through it in different ways. They have different ways of coping with it or not. And you never know what the other person is, how he's dealing with it. So if you haven't done it up until now, just to be kinder. What's
to
a
yourself
nice
too.
It's a nice way. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. It was always so much fun talking to you, even though it was not a fun topic. If anybody we're doing this on Zoom today. So if you have any comments, please send them either directly to Rachel if you have her number. If not, I'll put up her number afterwards on the comments. And everybody have a great evening, whatever's left of it, and a great day tomorrow, and Shabbat Shalom. And stay tuned for our next live. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.